Alright traders, today is 2 June 2017. My name is Jameson. Welcome to Behringer Trading. This is BP Amoco that I used for our weekend quiz number 2. So we can appreciate that the current trend is that of a downtrend. And then we see some this very aggressive gap down, climatic volume, and then we have this lateral trading that's here, this sideways trading. Appears to be making some some higher highs and some lower lows that's present. But what do we have? So prices break down. There's our selling climax. We rally back up. There's an automatic reaction. We have these secondary tests. Price activity is very erratic. If we look, we can appreciate there's a lot of selling. There's a little bit less, a little bit less. So I can appreciate that selling is contracting. But there's just the characteristic here is very difficult. But we have prices that are trying to break down. Then we gap up when we fail, but then we gap down. And we're kind of establishing, we're broadening this base of support. We gap higher, and if we gap higher and we fail, why aren't we going lower? It's because there's probably buyers. And then again, we gap down. Again, there's nothing lower. I'm starting to think that the momentum's slowing. So obviously we're broadening this base of support. But now I'm starting to think, why, if prices aren't breaking down, we might have some buyers that's present. And then we gap higher, there's no follow through, and then we break down, and then right here is very bearish. Like this is the lowest close, complete failure here on bulls, and then there's absolutely no follow through, and then gap higher, and then back down. Now we have a higher low. So this tells me that bulls are getting a little anxious and they're starting to buy a little earlier. But this right here, I think, is our changing character. This is an opportunity that that bears could have drove this BP Amoco lower, and they didn't because there were buyers present. And then we rally back up. We're still trading the resistance, but now we have a higher low, right? And then now at this point now, demand begins to overcome supply. We've now broke out of this range. We've closed this gap, but because we're into this gap, there's still a lot of sellers that's present. There's some profit taking. There's probably some shorts covering, which is driving prices up. And then now actually we pull back again, very bearish here, but it's a higher low. And if you look at the volume that's present, there's no sellers. It's starting to look like the selling pressure is starting to contract. And then now this gets a little confusing because, again, here we are trying to go higher, and then we're pulling back. This is bullish absorption. So a very difficult thing to appreciate visually, but you can appreciate there's obviously some selling here because the upper wicks define that. But prices are going down, and then we're seeing buyers. So we're seeing an attempt to push lower, an attempt to push lower. It's not happening. We're getting higher lows as present. This is the beach ball effect. In other words, there's a lot of downward pressure trying to push this down, and it's not successful. And what happens is that now we start to see this little breakout, and then now here's our big clue. So I purposely cut this off because there's no reason to initiate a short here if you're bearish, because if you're shorting here, you're shorting in the resistance. You want to actually short a little bit higher. But now we can actually, following this big bullish session, we can appreciate that we're, this trading activity is an attempt to take this prior level resistance and confirm this as support. And once we see this session here, then we have confirmation that this changing character likely was telling us that there are buyers, and now we can appreciate that bulls, the demand's beginning to overcome supply. We can appreciate the buying that's present, and then here we are, we start the run. And when it's all said and done, and then here we are. So when it's all said and done, here's that rally through here. Here's demand exceeding supply. This is our sign of strength. These upper wicks here are still these little up thrust actions. But then we pull back, and now we officially confirm this prior level resistance as support. This is the back up to the creek. This is the back test, the pullback. And then again, there's no sellers that's here. We see the emergence of demand, and then we rally through here, and we achieved these upper objectives. We didn't achieve this $39 target, but I'm pretty satisfied with the $37 target, and now we're stopped out as we've drawn a line in the sand here. So essentially, since we've achieved this target, we should get some consolidation to the rebuild cause, and when we rebuild cause, we'll likely end up rallying higher. But really just kind of protect some profits, look for an entry in here along the lower trend line, if not along the 200-day simple moving average. But this was the example that I used, BP Amoco. This was a challenging one, but there we are.